Good morning, guys. Good afternoon. Today we'll be discussing the ongoing conflict in Ukraine, which began in 2014 and introduced you an organization close to our community. Help for Ukraine Buffalo, which is making significant efforts to provide aid during this crisis. I'm going to give a little history and background on Ukraine and its past. Our journey begins over a millennium ago with the rise of the Kievan Rus. Established in the 9th century, this was the first Eastern Slavic state. Kyiv, the capital, emerged as a vital cultural and political center, influencing the development of the entire Slavic world. Fast forward to the early 20th century, amidst the turmoil of World War I and the Russian Revolution, Ukraine first asserted its independence. In 1917, the Ukrainian People's Republic was proclaimed, marking a significant moment in the nation's pursuit of self-determination. One of the darkest chapters in Ukraine history is the Holodomor, the devastating famine from 1932 to 1933. This tragedy, resulting from Soviet policies, forced collectivization and efforts to suppress Ukrainian nationalism, claiming millions of lives and leaving deep scars in the Ukrainian community. In 1986, the world witnessed another tragic disaster, the Chernobyl disaster. Not only had profound environmental impact, but also exposed shortcomings of the Soviet system, fueling a growing desire for change and independence among the Ukrainian people. The fall of the Soviet Union in 1991 marked a historic moment for Ukraine. For the first time in the modern era, Ukraine emerged as a fully independent nation. Pivotal event reshaped the geopolitical landscape of Eastern Europe and opened a new chapter for the Ukrainians. So, something that is talked about often in the media, the Ukrainian war. Our journey begins in 2013-2014 when the Ukrainian government's decision to suspend EU association and trade agreements led to massed protests known as the Euromaidan movement, seen in this picture here. Violence escalated, reaching a tipping point in February 2014 when security forces fired on protesters. This led to the president, Yanukovych, fleeing from the country, and an interim government was taking charge. Shortly after, during the chaos amongst this, Russia annexed Crimea, and conflict erupted in eastern Ukraine, specifically the Donetsk and Luhansk regions, marking the start of the war in 2014. Fast forward to today, and Russia invades Ukraine in 2022. Russia launches a full-scale invasion of Ukraine, but meets heavier resistance than expected. The invasion, says Herrera, comes back to Russia wanting to assert control over Ukraine and thinking they could get away with it. Now, there were some attempts to resolve the war starting in 2014, the Minsk Accords, when Ukraine held some peace talks with these nations, and NATO and US responses as well. These were didn't work, so that's why they invaded in 2022. The invasion of Ukraine stands as a stark reminder of the fragility of peace and continuous need for vigilance against the forces that seek to redraw borders through force. It has triggered a humanitarian crisis with countless lives lost and millions displaced, underscoring the profound human cost of such conflicts. Today, as we turn our gaze into Ukraine, our hearts are heavy with the harrowing images of innocent lives shattered by bombs and shells. A lot of casualties from the war. 5,100,000 people internally displaced. 6,200,000 people are refugees in Ukraine. And a mere 22,000 civilian casualties, as you can see. The PowerPoint, as I made it, shows that this number is 0% among the millions of people displaced. To this PowerPoint, their lives mean nothing. Each day, the people of Ukraine wake up to a nightmare that should have no place in our world. Children who should be filled with laughter and curiosity are instead learning the sounds of sirens and explosions. Families who should be sharing meals and moments of love are instead torn apart, forced to flee, or mourning unimaginable losses. These acts are not mere incidents of war. They are war crimes, violations of international law, and abuse of human decency. As we stand to witness these atrocities, our silence becomes complicit. It is incumbent upon us as members of the global community to raise our voices in unison against these acts of barbarity, to demand accountability, and to ensure justice is served to the people. Now, we transition to a popular and very big group here in Buffalo, the Help for Ukraine. It's a Ukrainian American community of Buffalo, New York, organizing together to provide humanitarian and medical aid to Ukrainians in need. What does Help for Ukraine Buffalo do? They plan fundraising events, they host pop-up sites, engage with the community through protests and walks. They work with community resources. They've had countless hospitals in the area, such as Kaleida and Catholic Health, donate lots of resources to children and the people in need. And Help for Ukraine uses these donations, funds raised, to buy humanitarian aid supplies, which tens of thousands of dollars have come and has gone to Ukraine to help the people in need. Here you can see some of the pictures. Shipping containers of kids' diapers and kids' things going to Ukraine. People making food, people loading a truck, pop-up events, donation, raffle baskets, people at events supporting local things in the community to make money. Help for Ukraine is help for humanity. Your support is crucial. Please, you guys can scan a QR code, you guys can check it out. If you guys go to the next one. Check us out on Facebook, Help for Ukraine Buffalo. That is the church that they're located out of, that's the number. And thank you very much. Any questions, anybody? Yes.
When is the next fundraising event that Buffalo Ukraine is participating in?
The next fundraising event is the Christmas